It had been a dress-up kind of day. Katie learned that tying a big red scarf around your head didn't really mean it would stay on. And Orbie found out that a mustache can make you sneeze. And they both discovered that walking in high heels can be very wobbly. Katie called Kyra all through the morning to see if she wanted to come over and play. But Kyra had been off at an appointment with her mom and couldn't. At lunchtime, as two rather interesting-looking astronauts sat down at the table to sip space soup through their straws, there was a knock on the door. Katie and Orbie tripped over their air hoses and goggles, laughing all the way, and finally arrived at the door. When Katie opened the door, Kyra stood there. She was a little surprised to see Orbie dressed up and Katie with big goggles on, but when she realized it was her two friends, she smiled and said, "Hi." Katie noticed she seemed a bit quiet, but Orbie tooted through his air tube and everybody laughed. In Kyra came. She hung up her jacket. There was a big bulge in one of her pockets. But Katie and Orbie were so eager to finish their lunch and get to a game of astronauts that they didn't even ask what it was. Kyra touched it to make sure it was still there and then ran down the hall to the kitchen after Katie and Orbie. Once they'd eaten the soup and jiggly dessert, the three friends went upstairs to play astronauts a little longer. Kyra didn't really feel like dressing up too much. Katie asked if anything was wrong, but Kyra smiled one of her brilliant smiles and said no. She did want to play, but she didn't feel like dressing up. Orbie showed Kyra the cardboard box spacecraft, and Kyra climbed in. They flew around the room a few times, and Orbie raised his helmet and burbled to his friends that being an astronaut was pretty hot business. Maybe it was a good time to play something else. Katie giggled at Orbie, and Kyra squinted across the room to see what he was doing, but missed it. They decided it would be fun to play office, and Katie was the boss, and Kyra was the other boss, and Orbie was the person taking notes and making all kinds of calls. Orbie was really funny when he was pretending to be on the phone. Everybody laughed. Kyra still didn't laugh as much as she should have, and Katie wondered why her friend wasn't very happy. After a little while, Kyra said she had to go downstairs for a minute, and she hurried out of the room. Katie and Orbie looked at each other, and then Orbie told her he had to make a call. And that made Katie laugh again. It was only a minute or two before Kyra came back up again. Orbie thought maybe she had to ask Mum something and didn't think much of it. Orbie tooted that he had taken as many calls as he could stand, and now he was thinking that a game of really cool people on a park bench would be fun. Well, costumes flew, and finally Kyra broke into a smile, and they all dressed up. Orbie had a funky-looking hat on. Katie wore a spectacular necklace and jacket. Kyra put on a pair of overalls that were really neat. Orbie held his hand up high and told them to wait a second. They were just not quite cool enough. Katie and Kyra looked at each other. They had no idea what Orbie was thinking. And just as they were wondering if he would ever come back, he popped back into the room with a pair of play glasses on. He looked seriously very cool in them. And Katie loved them. She wanted to be cool too, and she started for her costume box, where there was another pair. But then she stopped, because she realized that she only had one pair, and that would leave Kyra with none. Kyra asked Orbie if he really thought that glasses were cool, and Orbie gave a big grin and tipped his hat. She could tell that he really did. She could also see that although the glasses were big, Orbie looked terrific. And she told Katie to get her pair of glasses, and with a swish of the baggy bottoms of the overalls, she hurried down the stairs again. Orbie peeked as she went down the stairs, and then gave Katie a "I have no idea what she's up to" look. Katie was just pulling her orange and rhinestone glasses out of their case when Kyra walked back into the room. And when they looked, both Katie and Orbie stopped in surprise. There on Kyra's face, fitting absolutely perfectly and looking cooler than the other pairs, was a bright pink pair of glasses. Only Kyra's were real. Katie and Orbie couldn't believe that Kyra was so lucky. And they looked at her face from all different angles. Kyra giggled and tried hard to stay still while they examined her shiny rims. Both Katie and Orbie wanted a pair, and they raced down the stairs to ask Mom. Kyra followed behind them. When Mom admired Kyra's glasses, she beamed. Mom explained that Kyra had found out from the eye doctor that she needed to wear glasses to see clearly. Orbie looked right into Kyra's face and examined her eyes. Her eyes didn't look like they were sick or broken. Mom explained that they need help, and the glasses were doing that. Katie told Kyra she was so lucky to have to wear something so cool. Kyra smiled at her friends. She was so glad that they liked her bright pink glasses, because she had cried when she found out that she had to wear them. Orbie couldn't believe it. Kyra said that she didn't want kids to call her names and tease her about having 4 eyes and all. Katie just shook her head. She told Kyra that all anyone could possibly say was that you look really cool. Kyra touched her glasses. She was beginning to really like having to wear them, and she was really beginning to like seeing her 2 great friends so clearly for the first time. It wasn't long before everybody knew Kyra had glasses, and the whole neighborhood thought she was cool. Katie was glad her eyes were working well, but if she ever had to wear glasses, she hoped she'd look as cool as Kyra. And, you know, if your eyes ever need help, and you have to wear glasses to see better, I bet you'll look as cool as Kyra. I just know you will.
Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Lots of monkeys have really long arms. Such long arms help them to swing from tree to tree in their jungle homes. They also come in handy when bananas are just out of reach.